program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
We're walking around here in Africa on foot, and this is Safari Life.
Hi.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live. And welcome to a wonderful day here in sunny South Africa. My name is Tayla, and on camera with me this afternoon is Craig, and Herbert, the mighty protector, is our extra pair of eyes and ears, and we are on a bushwalk. So welcome. We've got 3 schools who are joining us this afternoon. We've got San Patricio, we've also got Hampton Oaks, as well as Malibu Elementary. So I hope that you are all very, very excited. And for our regular viewers, remember at the beginning of the show, we're going to be doing 45 minutes dedicated to all the lovely children who could have joined us today. And I hope that you ask us lots and lots of questions. Like I said, we're out on a bushwalk and we're walking around. We've actually come quite close to one of the lodges because there's a really nice big pan that I want to go and have a look at today, and there's also something very special waiting there, and that is a spider. I managed to find a hole in the ground, and we're going to go and see the spider with all of her babies. I hope you're quite excited for that. It's quite a big spider. It's one of the hairiest spiders that we have here in South Africa. But let's start walking towards the first little pan and see what we have over there. Maybe we're going to have some terrapins, which are like turtles, I suppose you would call them. If you are living in America, you would call them turtles, but we call them terrapins here. So let's have a look. I'm almost certain that we're going to see some. But as we're walking here, we've got to be very careful because it is a hot day. Very, very hot day, which means that the animals are going to want to come and have a drink of water. So this is a good spot, but let me show you. So you've got to make sure that you scan around you and just look very, very carefully. Otherwise, you could miss maybe some buffalo. You never know, maybe a herd of elephants down to have a drink. And you've always got to have a good pair of ears. You've always got to make sure that you are listening to what's going on around you. Okay, here we are at our first pan of water. You're going to be able to see me from the dam cam now. I'm waving. It's a different view. How cool is this? So we won't show you the terrapins now because you won't be able to see them, but we'll creep closer to this little pan of water, this first pan, and then see if we can spot any terrapins from over here. Let's see. But how green is it? Isn't it beautiful? There we go. Now we're back with us. Now what we've got to do is we've got to look in the water and look for little heads that are popping out. So have a scan. Can you see anything, Craig? Nope, Craig can't see anything. There we go. There's the terrapin that's popped its head out on the left-hand side. And you got one there. Yeah. Wonderful. So Craig is now zoomed in on that's popped out of the water, and it's hiding from us. It's probably seen us. There's quite a few of them over here, and they'll be very nervous of us as we're standing here. So we won't go too close because we don't want them to completely duck underwater. So you just saw their tiny little nostrils and their big eyes. Sophia, now you are wondering what a bushwalk is. So basically what happens is that you will meet Jamie and Brent properly, and you'll see that they're driving cars around. So we are on foot, we are walking around, but the idea of a bushwalk is to look for the smaller things. It's not to try and get close to any of the big animals. You're able to get nice and close to the elephants and to the lions when you are in the cars, and hopefully we'll have something exciting to show you. Hopefully a leopard or two, maybe an elephant. We might even see some elephants. So the bushwalks are lots of fun. When you're driving around in the cars, you miss a lot. You only drive on the road. Sometimes you get to go off-road, but when you, like us, you can see a little bit of everything. And we're also going to do a bit of tracking a little bit later. I'm going to try and get you all to guess sort of dung of animals and also footprints. But we'll see if we can maybe find some more terrapins. Maybe there are some that are sunbathing on the banks, but we'll have to be very quiet and sneak up to them. But we're going to go across now to Brent, who I'm not sure what he's going to get up to today, but I'm sure it's going to be very exciting.
Welcome to our wonderful schools. I have got an apex predator of Africa. My name's Brent Smith. I, of course, with my good friend Brian, formed the Killer Bees. What is the thumb today, Brian?
Sick thumb.
It's a sick thumb.
Because he was naked streaking
It's the same
yesterday.
problem that we have been having
Dear,
for the
mustn't
last
do that.
week.
Now, we've got an apex predator of Africa, and I'm not talking about the human being, which is, of course, also an apex predator. It is the Nile crocodile. And I'm sure a few of you have watched Peter Pan, so never smile at a crocodile. So there you go, he's waiting for an unsuspecting antelope to come for a drink, and he is able to shoot himself about 5 meters, which is over 10 feet, out of the water. He's not the biggest crocodile, he's big enough to bite you. He's about 9 feet, 10 feet long himself. So he can shoot his whole body length out of the water, and even more than that actually. And mostly he will, however, eat catfish and turtles, but if a little antelope happened to wander down and wasn't paying attention, he would definitely eat him. Now, we've got a name for this particular individual. His name is Boris the Blade. Now, Boris seems to like this little water hole, but he finished all the turtles in it a while ago, and he actually walked about 2 miles to another water hole. So crocodiles will get out of the water and walk if there's lack of food or if the water runs out and they need to go somewhere else. Well, Boris, where'd you go? Now you can see, if he pops his head under, you can't even see Boris. And we just follow his bubbles. You got them going off to the right a bit. But even then, now the bubbles I'm following is him disturbing the bottom of the water. Now crocodiles can hold their breath for a very long time, about 2.5 hours. Where have you gone? And that's why, if you ever come visit Africa, every little bit of water, you need to think that there's a Boris inside it. Otherwise, you'll be dinner, lunch, and breakfast. Well, Boris has disappeared under the water. We're going to keep moving. Peyton would like to know, are there a lot of crocodiles in Africa? There are a lot of crocodiles in Africa. Ooh, Boris. Now, see what Boris is? He's moved to a spot where he thinks some antelope might come drink later. So he's positioned first. Now, crocodiles also have very good eyesight. So, Peyton, sorry, I haven't forgotten you, but he just popped his head up again. Hey, Boris. So yes, there are lots and lots of crocodiles in Africa, and in most rivers, lakes, there will be many crocodiles, and they can even be in the tiniest bit of water. Now, I've got a question for you guys. Who can tell me the difference between a crocodile and an alligator? That should keep you thinking for a while. What is the difference between a crocodile and an alligator? Now, crocodiles are sort of living dinosaurs, not true living dinosaurs, but they have been in that exact same form for many, many years, about 8.5 million to be exact. And crocodilians themselves, the family, which includes alligators, crocodiles, caiman, have been around for a lot longer, sort of 450 to 500 million years. The first fossil evidence of crocodilians is present. So we're going looking for elephants today. So I'm hoping they're going to be some down in the east. Hello, Justin. Justin wants to know, do you need to drink lots of water on safari? Yes, you do, Justin. You don't want to become dehydrated. That would be very unpleasant. So, yes, you do. But you shouldn't only drink lots of water when you're on safari. You should drink lots of water when you're at home as well. Water is very good for you. You shouldn't drink too much cola and sweetened juices because they'll make all your teeth fall out. So I'm going to shoot through to try and find some elephants while I race around looking for the biggest land mammal in the world. Let's go see what Tayla's sneaking up to on foot.
No, get off of my shoe. Look, it's on my shoe. They're everywhere. They are ticks, and they are climbing. They are trying to come for me. Look at every time I move, they chase after me. Get away, you nasty ticks. Now, these are really horrible ones. You can see they're desperately trying to climb onto my shoes so that they can come and suck my blood. These are called bont ticks. These are not nice ticks. And you can see I'm going to have to do a dance now because I really don't want to get one of those on my body. Oh my gosh, you have to go. I can't stay around over there. We're going to be attacked. I've never seen ticks move so quickly before. They must be very hungry. Isn't that gross? Now, if that was an animal, if that was an impala or a kudu or even a buffalo walking around here, those ticks would have very quickly crawled, and I have to keep checking myself because I do not want to be bitten by one of those, would have crawled onto the hair of the animal, gone up all the way on its legs, probably gone underneath its arms into a nice warm cozy spot. And that's where it will sit and feast until it is full. And then eventually it pops off and then it goes about its day. But there are lots and lots of ticks around at the moment. And it's funny how they're not coming here now on the road. They just want to be all in this long grass where they can hide nicely. And they're all out and about because we've had so much rain. Look, there's one waiting. I'm so scared to stand here. There it is. Yeah. Can you see it there? Look how quickly it goes. There's two of them. Oh my goodness, and they're so big. Wow, look at them. They're all of them. Now, like I said, you stand here and it's like they can pick up on your heat and they come zoning in for you. It is very scary, and I'm not scared of many things out here, but these ticks are very creepy. Now, Olivia, you're wondering, how do I know about so much information about all these animals? Well, Olivia, lots and lots of reading. We do read every single day as much as we can. The problem is trying to remember it all the time. So as soon as I learn something new, I make sure that I speak about it so that I can remember it inside of my head. But it's not so bad. You know, we do get to do this 6 hours every single day. We get to come out on a safari. Isn't that amazing? I'm sure you're all a little bit jealous. Now, I have to point out something else to you. We've got lots of things to show you. You might have seen me holding this very tightly. I'm just keeping it in my hand because what I'm going to use this eye drop bottle for is to test the wind. Now, today, there's hardly any wind. It's very hot. It's really nice because we've had really rainy, cold weather and we haven't been seeing lots of insects and lots of animals. So today will be a good day. So what you do, you make sure you aren't blocking the wind. Let's stand like this. And this is a very subtle one. It's got ash inside, and you squeeze. When you go a bit closer, you'll be able to see it. You see that? There's quite a strong wind. It's like it's coming from the southeast, which is normally where we get our wind from. Now, there's something else here. Look at this. Look at this. This is what's so cool about being on a bushwalk, is that you never know what you're going to see. I normally would be crawling around on my hands and knees, but with all those ticks around, not a chance today. But look at this little critter sitting on the leaf. Craig, I'll be on the lookout for ticks and I'll fight them off. So that is a praying mantis, and it is a wonderful predator. Look how camouflaged it is. We'll keep having a look at that. Now, hang on, let me see if I can lift. I'm also going to step into the grass. Hello, praying mantis. I'm going to just lift it up just a little bit. There we go. Look how cool it is. Look how camouflaged it is. Isn't that lovely? See how it's turning its head? And they're amazing. They're able to turn their heads 180 degrees. See how it's got its little legs sort of curled up underneath its body? It will snatch its prey It's an ambush predator, so it has to try and stalk them and get close enough to an insect that it wants to feed on, and then it will launch at them, grab them, nom 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 nom, and then eat them all up. That's the praying mantis. Now, I'm not a fan of picking them up. I'm a little bit scared to pick them up. I'll rather leave them down. But I'll find you one of my favorite animals out here, and it's an insect called a millipede. And then I'll pick that one up. They're my absolute favorite. But I want to see if we can find any of the smaller ticks. You've seen the big ticks now, which are known as, like I said, they're called the bont ticks. Then you get these tiny little ones that sit on the blades of grass like this. They'll just sit up here all curled on the top, and we might find some. And they're pepper ticks. And they're the ones that like to bite us as human. Now, Madison, you were wondering, especially about ticks now, if ticks were slimy. They're not at all. They are quite hard and robust. Those bont ticks that we saw are actually really, really hard to try and kill. Because if they are biting you, you don't want them on your body anymore. Or even when you get them on your dogs or your cats or any of the wild animals, and it's not very nice. They're really, really tough and resilient. So even if an elephant were to scrape its body on a tree, sometimes those ticks are able to hold on tight and, well, not fall off, which I think is pretty amazing. You should have seen me earlier when I first realized that the ticks were climbing on my shoes. I was jumping and stomping, trying to get them all out. Now, we'll take a little walk down here. I'm a bit scared now to go venturing down there because I can imagine I'm going to be covered in ticks from head to toe, and I'll be spending the whole night pulling them off of me. I'll have to help Craig take the ticks off him, and Herbie we'll have to do a little circle like how the monkeys groom. That's what we'll have to do tonight, so that we take all of the, make sure we get all of the ticks off of us. But let's keep walking. Let's go a little bit along this road. Now, Kevin, you've asked this afternoon, why do ticks suck blood? Kevin, that's what they eat. That's what they are feeding on. So you get lots of animals that feed on blood, ticks being a very common one. Fleas, some of the mites also feed on blood. And then, how cool is this? There's a bird that helps the animals out here in the bush to get rid of those ticks. Because the zebra doesn't have hands like we do. It can't just start pulling the ticks off. It's a bit hard. They have to use their teeth to groom themselves. They scratch up against the trees and the rocks and termite mounds. But there's a bird called a red-billed oxpecker. And you'll have to ask Jamie and Brent very nicely this afternoon if they'll show you a red-billed oxpecker. And they've got these like little comb-like structures in their mouth, which they will scissor. So basically, they do this in the hair, and they eat those tiny little ticks. But we'll keep searching for the very, very small pepper ticks out here, and then hopefully we'll be able to see. And you'll be so surprised as to how small they really are. But we're going to go walking. We're going to try and find a safe spot to go down and look for some really cool insects. Also, we're going to visit the spider, which we're not too far away from. But I think it's time that you meet my dear friend Jamie Patterson.
A very good afternoon to all of you, and welcome on our sunset safari. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon Dave is back and on camera with me once again. Welcome back, Dave. And a very warm welcome to all of the kids joining us. It's exciting to have you, and you've arrived at the perfect possible time because you're going to help me look for one of our favorite creatures out here. The creature that we're searching for is a leopard. And leopards like to hide in all sorts of interesting places. And especially at this time of day, it's quite hot here in South Africa. They like to hide in shade. Now let's check carefully. I think I know where one of them is, but there's actually 3 leopards that we're looking for. A mum and her 2 cubs. Now her cubs are quite big now. They are nearly a year old. And I suspect that one of them is hiding somewhere around here. I hope you're all looking really, really carefully. Now, Summer, you want to know, how do we know where the animals are if we don't have a map? Well, Summer, one of the best ways, and I'll show you what it looks like in a moment, but one of the best ways to find animals is to look for their footprints in the sand. And maybe if you ask Tayla really nicely, she can show you some interesting footprints. I just want to check something. Let's check this back area here. They might be hiding in this long, long grass. Up in the trees, maybe. Oh, you can hear some crunching. These are all dead trees that I'm driving over. So you don't need to worry about them at all. Sometimes we drive over trees that we know are going to spring back up. There's no leopards here, Dave. Where could they be hiding? If I were a leopard on a hot afternoon, I would want to hide in there. There's no leopard hiding in that one, and there's no leopard hiding in that one, or that one. Do you think we should check the other side, Dave? I think we should check the other side too. So that is where guests who come on safari can go and have dinner out in the bush. So that's what that is. That's why that's there. We call it a bush braai site, but it's basically a place where you can come and have a barbecue. I think we should go check the other side. If I were a leopard, that's where I would want to be sleeping. Let's go and have a look. We've got to go all the way around this massive termite mound. Are you all excited? Is there a leopard on there? No. No leopard there. There we go. Just quickly, before we go check the other side, can you see tracks there, Dave? That's one of the ways. There we go. There's one over there. This is one of the ways that we look for leopards. Their footprints in the sand. Now, Jalen, no, I'm not afraid of being eaten. There's nothing out here that wants to eat me. I wouldn't go walking around at night. That's very, very dangerous. But during the day, we're quite happy to move around. We know that the animals don't mean us any harm. It's important for us to remember that they are wild, and therefore we should always we must never take for granted that they're going to be predictable. So those are leopard tracks. That's a footprint in the sand that a leopard's left, and it's going straight towards that bush dinner site. Let's go all the way around. I think we should check the next one. Now, Kevin, you want to know why it's so hard to find leopards? Well, one is that they're very, very quiet, and they have the best camouflage. So the spots on their coat helps them to basically disappear into the bush. And they're also quite light walkers, so they don't always leave the clearest footprints. Those are nice and clear. I think we should check round. We've checked that side. Let us go and check the other side. And let's see whether or not there's a chance of a leopard being there. Looks like there's something interesting there, Dave. It does look like there's something interesting there. Look at that. How lucky are we? A leopard fast asleep in the shade of the concrete block. There she is. And that's why leopards can be so hard to find, because they choose the strangest places to go to sleep. And this one is fast asleep up against the wall. The reason that she's there is that it's nice and cool. And this little leopard's name is Xongile. And Xongile is only just over a year old. She's 13 months old very soon. And I don't know where her brother is. I bet you, while we're sitting here, I bet you her brother's watching us, watching her. Because he's also very, very good at hiding. Now, the two of them, at just over a year old, are still reliant upon their mum. So their mum's name is Karula, and I'm sure she's around here somewhere as well. But their mother has to keep really busy because these two leopard cubs are basically the equivalent of teenagers. So they're hungry all the time. Even when they're not hungry, they're hungry. So mum's gone off hunting. She doesn't have any other way to feed them. She's got to go and hunt her own food. Now, Mariana, I'm talking about Karula and Xongile and Hosana. You want to know if we name all of the animals that we see on safari? No, not all of them. We don't name every impala. It would get a bit exhausting if we do. Although, sometimes we give them names as a joke. But these names are not a joke. The leopards have names. The lion prides have names as a group, not individuals. Our hyena have names. Our male lions have names. So certain animals do get names, but there are certain animals that there's just too many of them to name. So we don't give names to all the elephants, just ones that we recognize very easily or that we see regularly. But it would be very silly out here, because remember, the place that we are in is basically as big as some small countries. So there's lots of animals, and it would be exhausting to try and name and remember them all. Now, since our little leopard is having such a nice time sleeping, it sounds as though Tayla has found another predator for you.
We came to visit that hole that I was telling you about, and you might be able to see, if you look very, very carefully at the edge of that burrow, there is one little tiny spider. Now that is a baby. That is a spiderling. That is not mom. Mom is probably deep down inside that burrow, which she's dug out. And I'm sure the rest of the little babies are in there too. Now, not all the spiders will actually look after their young, but some of them do. And the baboon spider, which is very much like a tarantula, is one of those spiders. I don't know if we're going to be lucky enough to see mom come out today. I think she's just having a little holiday. But she'll lay lots and lots of eggs, and when I first found this burrow, there must have been about 20 or 30 of these little spiders sitting at the edge of this burrow, all jumping on top of mom, and she was keeping an eye out for them. But she'll lay up to 40 eggs, and they'll all hatch. But sadly, not all of those spiders are going to will live till adulthood. The baboon spiders can actually live for a couple of years. Craig is just trying to stand up. It's difficult for him. He's got a big backpack on his back with a very, very long aerial. So it makes it a little bit difficult to climb up every now and then. But look at this other view that we've got of the dam. It's really, really quite beautiful out here. Don't you think? Don't you think it's very nice that it's lovely out here? And it's so peaceful. There's just a couple of birds shouting about, lots of insects on the water, but no terrapins sunning themselves. We'll try and find some more spiders. These ones are not behaving today, so we'll have to look for my favorite spider, which is a jumping spider. So we'll go and look for a couple of those. But let's go back across to Xongile, the sleeping princess.
Definitely not jumping in the same way that spider was, or could have, or with Tayla. Xongile is indeed a sleeping princess. She looks so comfortable, and it looks like a very strange place to see her, doesn't it, Dave? It is. She looks as though she's not in the wild, but she is. This is a completely wild leopard. She's just found a really comfortable spot. And I found that leopards, more than any other creature, like to do this. They like to sleep in these concrete bush dinner sites. They like to sleep in pump houses, so structures that protect the water pumps around here. They love going there. They go and they lie right next to... I've found leopards before lying right next to water pumps. It's actually quite a nasty surprise when you're going to go and turn on the water pump. All of a sudden there's a leopard there in a very small enclosure with you. Fernando, you want to know, how do we know which leopard is which? Xongile is not making it very easy for us this afternoon, is she? Because she's not looking at us. So the scientific way, Fernando, is to remember that each and every leopard's spots are individual. They're like a fingerprint. So one of the big things that we look for is the whisker spot patterns, so the dots are just above the whiskers. But to be honest, we spend so much time looking at these leopards and getting to know them that they basically become as individual as people to us. It becomes really easy to identify which leopard is which, because they just, once you start to stare at them, they just look different. The shape of the face, the way they hold their ears. And one of the best ways when you're first getting to know them is to look at special markings. So their mother, Karula, she has the word wow on her forehead. So her spots almost look like they spell out wow in between her eyes. And I didn't see it at first, and then somebody pointed it out to me, and now I will never ever mistake Karula ever again, because she is so easy to identify. And leopards have territories, so we see the same leopards regularly. Aiden, very good question while we look at a pile of spots in the shade. Aiden, you want to know, why is it that cheetahs and leopards have spots? Well, Aiden, the reason that they do it is to break up their outline. So it's actually nature's really clever way of disguising a leopard. And there's lots of different ways of being camouflaged. Obviously, there's things like chameleons that go bright green to look like leaves. And there's certain insects that I'm sure Tayla will find you on bushwalk, some that look like stick insects or sticks, and so on. But for leopards, it makes the most sense because they like to move through areas where there's thick vegetation and cover. And so the spots break up their outline and make them almost invisible. Now imagine a leopard moving around at night in total darkness. You can imagine them sneaking through the bush and they become almost invisible because you can't really see color at night. So they basically disappear. And that's why they have spots. Sophia, you want to know if they all sleep like this? Sometimes they all can sleep like that. Sometimes they like to find themselves a nice patch of grass where they like to sleep. Sometimes they sleep on a tree with their legs dangling and on their stomachs. Oh, she's stretched. I thought she was going to move. Look, she's stretching out her paw, covering her head. But it's quite unusual to see one of them in this particular spot. It does happen every now and again. I know that her older brother, Quarantine, was famous for settling on this site. Come on, girl. Why don't you roll over for us so we can see your pretty face? Olivia, you want to know how is it so peaceful if there are so many animals around? Good question, Olivia. Well, bear in mind that there's so much space for the animals to move about in that sometimes they can be quite spread out. And for the first time in a few months, we've actually had really, really good rain. So what that means is that there's lots of food around for the different animal species. So there's long grass, there's plenty of leaves on trees, so they can move wherever they want to. And even more important than that, they don't have to go to the water holes to drink because there are lots and lots of puddles. So the animals are pretty spread out. And a lot of the antelope that would usually be in this open area, they've decided they don't want to be here because they saw the leopards here this morning and now they don't know exactly where the leopards are. So better safe than sorry. They've just moved off a little bit to go and feed elsewhere. Okay, sleepy, sleepy leopard. Since you're going to not roll over and show us your pretty face just yet, let's go over to Tayla, who's found another predator. This time it's an aerial one.
Yes, this one has got wings and it is an eagle. And it's one of the smallest eagles that we see out here. It is called a Wahlberg's eagle. Now it's actually quite far away from us. And it's the pale morph Wahlberg's eagle. We're very lucky we have a pair of them that live around here. And you see how it sat itself on that tree? I think that it has obviously spotted some fresh urine of a mouse or one of the rodents that has been moving around in the grass. So it's positioned itself down a little bit lower, and it wouldn't surprise me if it quickly leapt down onto the ground as one of those mice or something like that maybe come crawling out of the grass. Remember, we had lots and lots of rain at the moment, so there's lots of new life, lots of new food, so everybody's very active, especially on a nice warm day like today. So that's a really, really amazing bird, but they don't stay here for a long time. Let's walk, because we're going to go this way anyway. It's probably going to fly away from us. Now, I'll tell you a little bit more about that Wahlberg's eagle, but Colleen has asked us a question. Colleen, you want to know if we can look into the sky and find more birds. Let's have a look. Has anybody spotted anything yet? Anybody seen anything flying in the sky? I can't see anything just yet. I can just see lots and lots of clouds, and there are a couple of butterflies also flying around. Wow, I can see one bird, but it is flying very, very high. You see on the edge of that cloud? Craig, it's just sort of going in now. It is so high. It's many, many, many miles in the sky. You'll have to squint to see the little black dot, and that's probably a vulture. that's flying at that height, and what they do is they catch the hot air that blows up towards the sky, the thermals, and they do circular movements, and eventually they go higher and higher. And those vultures have got incredible eyesight, and they are looking for dead animals to eat. So most of the vultures aren't able to hunt for themselves, but a Cape vulture can actually hunt for itself, but they are actually mainly scavenging. So they find animals that have died, and then they will eat it. But that's it. That's all that's flying in the sky for the moment. Now, Oscar, you're wondering, how fast can an eagle fly? Whew. Oscar, I think you've stumped me there. Well, a peregrine falcon, I don't know if you know what a peregrine falcon is. If I'm not mistaken, I think that flies at, when it's doing a dive bomb, at about 257 kilometers an hour, if I'm not mistaken. But that is really, really, really fast. Most of the eagles wouldn't fly that quickly. And if they were just flapping their wings and then sort of soaring with the winds, I can't imagine they'd be going too quickly. But if they're dive bombing after a raptor or something, I'm pretty sure they'd probably be reaching maybe 30, 40 miles an hour. But maybe Brent will know, and that's who we're just about to go across to. We're going to see if we can get a closer view of this Wahlberg's eagle. We're going to sneak up to it, but I'm going to send you back across to Brent.
Boy, we've got a wonderful big troop of baboons, but look at that one there. It's got its mouth full of something, being a greedy gut. What are they? Looks like it's marula fruit that it's eating. Marula is a very important fruit out here because it's very high in vitamin C. Hello, baboons. Look, there's a cowboy baboon rolling under its mom. A little bit to the left. Oh, she's gone off the road. Don't worry, she'll come back now. There we go. So this is a big troop. There's probably about 70 to 100 individual baboons in this group, and they are ruled by dominant males. There's one dominant male. Where's one? Right next to us. So we're literally being surrounded by them at the moment. There's a big boy. Now, they're often referred to as dog baboons, the big dominant males with that long canine-like snouts. Of course, they're far more closely related to us than dogs, and they are incredibly interesting animals with a very complex... Ooh, quillas flying over. If you heard that, a bunch of little birds. And we're moving very fast. And they're a very complex society where bribery and gift-giving is accepted. I want to see if I can find that female who had the tiny baby. Let's see where she is. She was just over here somewhere. Now, baby baboons will ride on the back of the mother. Where did they go? Peyton is wondering, do monkeys always walk on all four legs? Most of the time, you don't have any other bipedal ape apart from human beings. So, if they are walking on the ground, but these aren't monkeys, remember, these are baboons. There's another big male. So you'll often find the big males on the peripheries, and in case there's any danger. Now, a big male baboon's canine teeth are longer than a lion's. So they've got impressive teeth, and they can be very aggressive. They're also very, very strong. Much stronger than a human being, even though they're not nearly as big as us. Aiden's wondering, why do baboons put food in their mouth and then walk away? Well, it's so the other baboons can't get to it. Ooh, see that big hole? Do you see that big hole in his bottom jaw and the skin there? Now, that's from fighting with another baboon, I'm sure. So there's always battles going on between the different males to become the head of the troop. Hey guys, what you up to? There's the little baby hanging on her belly. Now, sometimes they'll ride like a cowboy on her back. But when they're riding like that on the belly, you can see he's gripping on, and he's having a drink of milk. Now, remember guys, these are not monkeys, these are baboons. Baboons. And Cohen would like to know, why are monkeys so funny? Well, these are baboons, and they're so funny because they can be. Now, of course, living in a big group has its advantages and disadvantages. One of the advantages is there's lots of eyes to spot if there's a lion or a leopard around. And obviously one of the disadvantages is there's a lot of you competing for the same. Here we go. There's a baby baboon getting a beating for misbehaving. And as I was saying, one of the disadvantages is competing for the same food resources. Let's have a look. They're always fascinating to follow. They're always up to something. Leonard would like to know, am I scared of the baboons? No, I'm not, Leonard. And the baboons are actually scared of me. So in the car, they're okay with me, but if I had to get out of the car, they would all run away. I'm going to come out to a big open area. Oh, there's some more right here. They're looking for little berries. There we go, look at that. So they're looking for berries, birds' eggs, insects. There's one who's complaining a lot. You hear the screaming. Okay, well, the baboon ducks and disappears into the bush. Let's go to Tayla, who's managed to get an eagle on the ground.
So our Wahlberg's eagle that we saw just a minute ago has left its perch from that small shrub and it has landed in the grass. So I wonder if it is maybe looking for grasshoppers or bugs to eat. Now they eat lots and lots of different things. They're not just restricted to eating mammals, so like little birds and rats and mice. They also eat lizards and other reptiles too. But what I'm really hoping is that this bird is going to come out of the long grass and onto the road. That would be really amazing to see. But look how beautiful it is. And it's not very big at all. And one of my favorite things to watch is a Wahlberg's eagle eating termites. So often you'll see them sitting on termite mounds, pecking away at all of the juicy termites. And they're very good to eat. They have got full of fat and full of protein, which is what these birds need. And especially a bird that doesn't live here in South Africa all the time. So during our summer months, it's summer now in South Africa, these birds will fly down from the northern parts of Africa and come here where it's a little bit cooler. Because in summer, in the northern parts of Africa, it gets very, very hot the closer to the equator that you go. And I think it can be a little bit uncomfortable. But they imagine living every single day with temperatures well over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Wow. Now this is the closest that I've ever been to a Wahlberg's eagle on foot before. I can't believe how relaxed it is. Look there, see it's looking down on the ground at something, but I think it's going for smaller things. And Fernando, you were wondering exactly what do they eat. So they eat insects and rats and mice and little lizards. They'll eat anything really, but like I said, they're not a big eagle, so they can't catch big things. They really are just feeding on the smaller things. Like I said, termites is actually one of their favorite foods. But look at it, look how it's walking very slowly, looking on the ground. That's what makes me think that it is now after bugs. Peyton, you were wondering if the Wahlberg's eagles can be in different colors. They can indeed. Now, this one I said is a pale morph Wahlberg's eagle, so that means that it is very white in color, very light, whereas a normal Wahlberg's eagle is normally like a chocolate brown with a bright yellow beak. But this one is a special one to see. And we get that a lot with the birds out here, is sometimes they have color. There it is, back again onto its perch. Ah, look how cool that is. This is so amazing. And I can't tell you how amazing it really is to be on foot with a bird like this, because when you're in the vehicle, everything seems so much smaller. But when you get out on foot and you are at eye level with the rest of the animals, you realize how big they are. And I can't believe how big that eagle is compared to how we normally see it sitting up in the tree. But it's also difficult for me because even though this bird, it's like the one we saw earlier flying away, I could only see a tiny little black dot in the sky. And in the vehicles, we're lucky you can look at your monitor screen and you can zoom in. So it's very, very difficult to spot animals as well when you're out on foot. It is a little bit easier on the vehicle that you can see higher than the grass. At the moment, grass is almost up to my waist. It's grown so much in the last few weeks, but I think we're going to leave this bird now. It has been very well behaved and posing so nicely for us, and we're going to go back across to Jamie and the leopards.
It sounds as though Tayla's bird has been very, very active, which is more than we can say for Xongile. And that's fair enough. She walked very far last night. Yesterday she was probably around about 3 or so miles from where we are now. And she's been playing with her brother all morning. And now she's an exhausted little leopard. This is what big cats do best at this time of the day, especially lions and leopards. They like to spend as much time as possible sleeping in the shade. Colleen, you want to know, well, if they find themselves without a concrete structure, where would it sleep? Colleen, the answer is absolutely anywhere. So generally leopards will sleep on the ground, underneath the trees, in the shade. Sometimes they'll go and climb up into trees called marula trees, which are the ones that you've been seeing around. There you go, that's a marula tree. They'll climb into the branches and they will sleep on their bellies with their legs dangling down. So they're very, very good climbers. And they'll climb up into those branches and just curl up there and sleep there. So it's actually unusual to see a leopard sleeping in a concrete structure, because there's actually not that many of them around. Now, we don't often get to see this. It was quite a nice surprise, and we nearly missed her. She was so well hidden. Look at her dozing away. She looks so happy. Now, Natalia, very good question. You want to know if there is a big population of leopards in Africa. Now, it's difficult with leopards because unless you've spent hours and hours with them as cubs, they grow up quite skittish, so they run away from human beings. And they're so good at hiding that if a leopard doesn't want to be seen, it isn't. Which means we don't know exactly how many leopards there are in the wild. Probably more, there's definitely more than there are lions or cheetahs, but we don't know exactly how many. And there's probably about 2,000 to 3,000 in the reserve that we are in, just in this particular place. But there's mysterious stories of leopards even being in cities, some of the main cities in South Africa. So they live all over the place, and one of the keys to their success is their ability to adapt to different places. So they're very good at learning to utilize different habitats. They can be in savanna like this, they can be in forests, they can live next to rivers. They're very, very good at that. However, like all animals out here, there is the fact that their population is steadily declining, and that's because of human beings. Human beings have taken over more of their territories, more of their habitat. They're losing it at a rapid rate. And, of course, there's also the fact that leopards are occasionally hunted and poached, particularly for their skin, which is very sad. Not these leopards, luckily. These are the safest leopards, at least from human beings, in all the world. All of these animals are very, very safe in this reserve. They're protected. Now, Jair, you want to know if a leopard is like your cat at home. Similar in that it's part of the same family, known as the Felidae family, but slightly different because a leopard is obviously much, much bigger. It is a small leopard, is around about 40 kilograms, so over 80 pounds. That's a small leopard. A big leopard can be up to 80, 90 kilograms, up to almost 200 pounds. So they're much, much bigger than your cat at home, and they live wild. So if I were to go up to Xongile right now and grab her and try and pick her up, she would probably maul me. she would be able to do some serious damage, even though she's still young, she's still a baby. So these leopards are wild. We can't touch them, we can't cuddle them like you can your pet cat, and they don't depend on us like your cat depends on you. But you can learn lots from looking at your pet cat. So the way that your cat tells you if she's angry or he's angry or upset or scared or happy to see you, leopard's body language is really similar. So you know how when your cat gets angry and it starts to thrash its tail? Or perhaps it's hunting something and you can see it going into stalk mode. That's the exact same body language that leopards show. So you can learn by watching your cat and seeing what it does with its body when it's feeling certain things. Maybe when it's food time, or maybe when it's coming up to cuddle you, when it rubs its cheek up against you. Those are all behaviors that when you see leopards, you can actually understand exactly why it is they're doing that or what it is they're doing. And the same goes for dogs, horses. Animal behavior is quite easy to read if you spend a lot of time watching them. But you definitely don't want a leopard as a pet. Wild animals have to be completely wild. Our sleepy Xongile is enjoying her rest. Unfortunately, no such luck for all of you. You've got to go back and enjoy the rest of your school day. And so on that note, I think it is a time to say goodbye to you all. I hope you had fun. I hope you were really excited to see baboons and eagles and this leopard. And I hope that we will have you on the back of our safaris again. I'm going to say goodbye to you all. And for the rest of you, I'm going to send you all the way to the east. Not to China, just to Cheetah Plains.
Well, we saw the baboons were heading towards Kalkal Open, so we decided to come wait for them. And they'll be quite spectacular as they all head out into the open. Now, it's quite interesting. You can see the majority of the troop are still behind us and they're coming through. Oh, I thought there might be some loving. You can see her very big swollen buttocks is a sign that she is an estrus. And it's so nice to spend time with a relaxed troop of baboons. So I'm sure she's got a few suitors with that delicious looking bottom of hers. There's always stuff going on with baboons. That's what's the cool thing about them. Now, as they move out into the open, it becomes far more apparent about their sentry system. So some of the younger males that are not really high ranking yet are right on the edges, keeping a lookout for any potential predators. Now, the lapwings are not going to be thrilled to have baboons heading into this area, and the baboons will definitely eat chicks as well as eggs if they are able to find them. And of course, Brian's favorite bird is calling. Brian says if you had to listen to them for too long, you might go
mad.
You're
very mad.
Very mad. The monotonous larks making lots and lots of noise. You can hear the little contact grunts between them. Swapna would like to know, is it true that baboons wreak havoc in cities by raiding houses and scaring tourists by grabbing their handbags and such? It is true. Now, one must remember that is completely human beings' fault. That is learnt behavior. If people leave an easy food source out in the open, like dustbins and stuff, baboons are highly intelligent and they work that out quite quickly. And Brian, this bird. It's a crake. Oh, that's so rare. The baboon, oh, there it goes again. The baboon, I can't even see which crake it is. This will be the first time ever on Safari Live. It looks like a striped crake. That's really, really rare bird. And that's definitely come in with the rain. Oh, exciting. I'm going to have to actually have a look which crake that was. If you guys got any screenshots of that, Brian, That's why I love him. That's why he's a killer bee. He doesn't miss a thing. So if you could send me some screenshots, because that is going to be quite difficult to ID, and I was too slow to grab my camera to try to get a picture of it while it was flying. But that could be very, very cool. It could be it is almost certainly a new bird species for the Safari Live list. Now I've completely forgotten what I was talking about. Sorry about that. I get quite excited when I see rare birds. I'm known as what is called a twitcher. Swapna's question about baboons wreaking havoc and terrorizing people in cities. Oh, Brian, let's see if Shanae disturbs that bird again. I will get back to your question. Scare the bird. Scare the bird. Take off, Craig. Well, if Shanae doesn't, the baboons definitely, hopefully will, as they move through there. So yes, they can. And as I said, the grabbing of bags and climbing into cars and stuff like that, it's very famous for happening in Cape Town, and it is human beings' fault. It's not the baboons' fault. People have fed baboons and then get... Oh, look at that. You got that. Yeah, well done. Sorry, I'm still looking for the... How's that pose? Oh, wonderful. So it's people feeding them, and so it's learned behavior. Oh, I've missed... Oh, are we going to swap? Oh! Mom! Oh, there's a big male. Now, as I was saying a bit earlier, the social structure of these creatures is absolutely fascinating. So the females will keep the rank that they're born with. And males obviously will fight to decide rank, but females keep the rank that they're born with. So amongst the females, they never raise or get higher within the troop. Males will disperse from their natal troop to other troops, and sometimes they will stay. But the most interesting thing is that females that are low ranking can basically bribe and seek favor with big dominant males for protection, especially for their young, to help protect them from the other females. Oh, they are so cute, little baboons. So I'm going to move forward a little bit just in case those baboons flush the crake again. Helmet wants to know if they have 2 alpha males as the head of the troop. No, there can be, in a troop this size, you're probably looking at well above 2 alpha males. You're probably looking at least 6 or 7 alpha males, and between them there will still be a hierarchy as well. So I'll try to see if I can spot the big dog baboons, as they are aptly called. And I would say it's really unusual we get to see them like this out in the open. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 6 big males. So amongst them there will be hierarchy as well. Come on, no, don't go that way. Come towards where the crake landed. Micah in Illinois would like to know, do baboons break into our facilities in the DRC? They haven't ever broken into DRC. They've broken into Inga's once, but that again I think was human error and the door was left open. No, we don't really have a problem. So as I said, a lot of that bad baboon behavior is learnt from human beings being messy. So when you live in the bush, all your rubbish is generally locked up in a cage to stop hyenas and baboons, of course. Oh, this is so very, very exciting. I think I know what it is. I'm just going to double check that bird. Cat, who's in Tampa, wants to know if we've ever had a baboon jump in the vehicle. Not here. I've had one baboon try in Cape Town, but he found out I wasn't a soft tourist or a city dweller, and I whacked him on the nose as hard as I could with a little stick, and he got a very big fright and jumped out of there. So the problem is that a lot of that learned behavior, which people don't realize, is actually a death warrant for these animals, because with those massive canines, they can become very dangerous, especially with small children, and they can inflict a lot of damage. So what happens if an animal becomes particularly troublesome, they get shot. Okay, I'm going to try to figure out which crake we just saw. I think I do know, and this is going to be a serious exciting one. This is a really good species. So while I do that, and let's go see Jamie, who's still with Xongile.
Brent seems so excited. I can't wait to hear exactly which bird it is that he has found. Xongile just did the most hilarious thing while you were with Brent and those baboons. You know how we've spoken about whether or not leopards ever fall out of trees? Well, she just fell out of there. She rolled over and was half asleep and just obviously thought it was a little bit wider than it really was. And she fell down and looked a little bit embarrassed and then got up and faced the opposite direction. She's very happy there. It's the perfect spot. I have no doubt that Hosanna is somewhere around here, watching us intently, waiting for it to get a bit cooler before he sneaks up on his sister. However, I have heard from Andrew that the hyena den is active, so I think what we'll probably do, hello gorgeous girl, because she's probably going to sleep like this for a little while longer, is we'll probably go and spend some quality time with the hyenas and then come back and spend more time with them as it starts to get cooler. The difficulty is never knowing exactly when Garuda's going to return to fetch them. I heard Monkey's alarm calling a little while ago that I suspect might be Mum, but I think she's probably still away hunting. Standing by. Sorry everybody, I just need to communicate with some of the other guides. It's just Andrew and myself. You're welcome to come and join us. Yeah, I think we'll definitely leave for now because there's not really a good view for more than 2 cars. So we'll probably leave and let the other guides have a view of her. Oh, she's doing a big stretch. And we'll go to the hyena den and then we'll come back a little bit later. Stephen, you want to know whether or not there are any studies going on in this area with any of the predators. Sorry, hold on. Okay, copy. Alright, plans have changed. He wants to go to the hyena den first, so we'll wait here a little bit longer, then we'll do a swap around with one of the other guides. Stephen, yes, there are plenty of studies going on. One of the biggest big cat research organizations is an organization called Panthera, and they study the territorial movements of leopards, they study the distribution of leopards, the population of leopards. They do really, really valuable work, and I've worked with Panthera in the past, not so much in the Sabi Sand, because in the Sabi Sand we know where all of the leopards are, but in reserves where the leopard population is less well known, and putting up hundreds of camera traps to try and identify and get to grips with the various leopards. And they then take that information and they will take it to the government bodies that rule over how many hunting permits are issued, and they are able to go to them with a concrete number of leopards and say, you cannot issue permits for leopards because this is the population is much smaller than we originally thought it was. So they do some incredibly valuable work. At the moment, we're involved in helping them collect scat for DNA testing, particularly paternity testing for the various leopards. They also monitor the lion population, and then there's the Endangered Wildlife Trust that works an enormous amount with the wild dogs in terms of monitoring them, studying their population dynamics, researching the effect that disease has on them, potentially moving them around and reintroducing them to old habitat areas where they used to be, vaccination programs and so on. So there are lots and lots of research organizations that will monitor the various populations out here. We're not working with any students at the moment, but I did spend, before I started working here, I spent a lot of time working with research students doing projects on various predators. Often it involves spending a lot of time with sleeping cats. Lots and lots of time with sleeping cats. Just like little Xongile. I wish you could have seen her fall out of there. It was very funny, wasn't it, Dave? That look of embarrassment on her face. And slight surprise. So this morning, for those of you that missed the sunrise safari, the royal family surprised us completely. They just popped out on quarantine right in front of us. And we followed them for a while. I don't know which of them caught a scrub hare. One of them caught a scrub hare. I think it was probably Xongile. She finished it off anyway. And they spent a little bit of time. What was interesting this morning was the way in which Karula handled the hyenas. So a couple of hyenas came wandering onto the scene, no longer really a threat to the cubs, just because they're so experienced with hyenas. But because they were in this open area, it seemed to me like Karula actually went forward just a little bit because her cubs were distracted with their kill, with that scrub hare kill. And they weren't particularly good. There weren't any trees for them to shoot up. She made sure she went forward, saw where the hyenas were, made sure the hyenas saw her, and distracted them, and then just calmly jumped up into a marula tree. And I don't know whether that was intentional or not, but I suspect it was intentional. I think that's part of her mothering instinct, and I think that's probably one of the reasons, that clever approach, is one of the reasons why she's so successful. Look at this. Could you get a more comfortable looking leopard? I know it looks so strange up against this concrete structure, but that is such a priceless picture. I'm sure that Quarantine used to spend time here. Now, I walk in the rain. You want to know if there are any countries in Africa that do not allow hunting. Botswana banned it. And as a sort of an experiment to see how it would affect the, let me try and phrase this properly, well, how it would affect the industry of the country, how it would affect the socio-economic situation in the country, and of course the conservation of animals in that area. Most countries, however, will allow hunting in one form or another. Whether or not it's legal is not always the case. There's very, very high levels of corruption throughout the African continent. Sort of the further north you go, apparently the easier it becomes to bribe certain government officials. There are, now I'm being taking quite a cynical view, but there are plenty of governments that are fully committed, and ministers that are fully committed to conserving the wildlife of their country. So it's not everywhere. But in South Africa it is still legal. It is, however, monitored, and as I said, with the leopard hunts, they have to issue permits in order to do that, and South Africa announced that they would not be issuing any permits for this year for leopard hunts. Again, those are the legal hunts that we know about. She's so pretty, so curious. We're going to go and do a switch around and probably go to the hyena den and see what they're up to. We'll come back to Xongile later. Hopefully Hosanna will make an appearance. Let's go and find out how Tayla's walk is going.
It's difficult out here today. I thought we were going to find lots and lots of little creatures lurking about, but it seems as though it's just the praying mantis out today. And here's another one on a Welfaria with the most beautiful camouflage. But this one has got a beautiful abdomen. I don't know if you can see it very well, but it's got it almost looks like white petals on its abdomen. But of course it is not. It's camouflage. And it is watching Craig very, very carefully. Craig, are you afraid? Mm-hmm. Craig is trembling with fear at the moment. This is beautiful. And I think that these praying mantis must be some of the most gorgeous creatures, and I just want to show you how vigilant they are. So watch it. I'm going to take a blade of grass, and I'm going to see if it follows the blade of grass. Look at that. No, it's not. It was just now. Look here. Follow us. Follow the piece of grass. This praying mantis is obviously a girl, and like Louise just says, it only has eyes for Craig. It is not interested in my piece of grass. When I did it to it earlier, it was following it around like crazy, and it's just amazing how they're able to move around. And I can only imagine that they've got exceptional eyesight, because that is what they are relying on when they do catch anything to eat. On that day that you were on a bushwalk with James, where he had the praying mantis sitting on his hand and it caught a fly that tried to land on him, that must have been exceptional. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite along those lines. I went back and watched that footage. That was unbelievable. I think I need a couple for my room. The only problem is that when a praying mantis flies as well, you wouldn't want it landing in your hair, especially if you were trying to sleep. Now, we're actually having to be a little bit quieter as we're walking around today, and you'll see I am scanning about because this grass is very, very thick. We've been hearing lots of oxpeckers. And we've also been seeing lots of buffalo tracks. So we're trying to avoid the mud wallows today, or at least when we do come across a mud wallow that is unavoidable, we're taking a wide berth, because I suspect that because it has been so hot today, they would have been sitting up in those wallows trying to keep nice and cool. We can't really figure out what's happened, because there's lots of tracks going this way, there's lots of tracks going down towards the pan, and I think there were some buffalo sitting down in the pan today, and they're coming from every direction. So we need to be a little bit careful. And as I was just about to say, we don't have much wind on our side. The breeze is actually picked up just a little bit, which makes me a little bit happier. It's always a bit daunting walking without a breeze, because then you can only really rely on the sun to sort of have in your favor. If you do come across an animal, you have to try to keep the sun behind your back so the animal's staring into it. But, well, with this breeze, at least we'll have a bit more cover. Hopefully it doesn't swill. We're going to keep on searching, being very sneaky, trying to avoid all the buffalo in the Sabi sand. But it seems as though Xongile, I think she's woken up and she's now poised herself perfectly on top of a termite mound.
Not a termite mound, not a genuine termite mound, although of course, as Tayla said that, she jumped down and went back to lie in the shade. She just climbed on top of the bush dinner site and decided that was where she wanted to explore for a little bit, and it made the most wonderful image of leopards just do this. They love to plonk themselves in strange places. But now she's settled down again, and I think she's probably going to go back to sleep. She just got up, had a momentary leg stretch, jumped onto the bush dinner site. Obviously, I haven't left, because as soon as I was about to start the car, she got up. But I think that side of that bush dinner site might have actually been heating up, and she decided that she'd go off and search a better shade. And there we go. She's now really found an awkward patch to put herself. And after all that, I think we might leave her after all. I've sort of been tossing up. I hear that Tayla's been talking about buffalo. Funnily enough, this morning, there was an entire conversation on, because we have a sort of a mobile message group that all of the guides in the entire area are part of, and I mean the entire Sabi Sand. And they were just talking about the fact that buffalo have been so scarce that some of the reserves have not seen them in over a month and a half. So Tayla's busy trying to avoid them on foot. I know there's some just down the road from us, but it seems as though from the answers from the other guides that a lot of the buffalo herds have either moved to the southern area of Kruger or up towards Orpen Gate and the Manuletti, those sorts of areas. It just goes to show how seasonal the movements of certain animals are. Leopards, of course, totally different. They have their established territories. They're not going to go. They might change a little bit as to where exactly they spend more time at different times of the year, but they're not going anywhere other than that. Don't forget to send through your questions, just while I remember to remind you, and do that on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or email through to questions@WildEarth.tv. Cheers, guys. Andrew, you said Miss Kai was active. Okay, nice. Oh, nice. Okay, I'm going to maybe pop round there once Abel's done. Perfect. Thanks, Andrew. Well, we'd better stay here with this leopard, in case she decides to pull a disappearing act. I try only to leave them when there's somebody else with them, so that we can guarantee they're not going to vanish while we're away. She's truly gorgeous, Xongile, which makes her name very apt as the beautiful one. Yes, Xongilolo. As Steph was telling me that on his bushwalk this morning, he accidentally walked into Karula. He said he didn't realize where she was. She'd moved from where we had her this morning. And he said all of a sudden he looked up and there she was in the marula tree. As Lou told him that the drive was wrapped, the bushwalk team had come across them on foot. And of course these leopards, now I suppose you could say renowned for being really truly lovely to approach in that sort of situation. Xongi, your adoring audience is waiting to join you in the form of another vehicle with guests that would like to see you. In that case, I think that's my cue to leave and to go off towards the hyena den, and then we'll come back towards the end of the sunset safari. That's when we have the best chance of a Karula deciding to return to them. Let's go and have a look and see what else we can find. I'm just trying to get out quickly so that we can get in here. Cheers, girl. I wonder where it's going to turn out that Hosanna is. My bet is between here and the road just a little bit to the east of me. That's where I guess Hosanna is going to be. I'm sure he's been watching us the entire time from the comfort of the long grass. How's it? How are you? Good, thanks. Hi, guys. Yeah, she's just on the other side of the bush dinner site. Here's guys. See, his tracks come here and go towards there. Oh, well, we leave little Xongile and go on our way to the hyena den. Whoopsie. Let's go over to Brent at Cheetah Plains.
Oh, so there, Brian, is a corn crack. But I need to see some pictures a bit better. Now, it's actually quite a rare bird. See, that VU means vulnerable. That's a male. And there we go. RC also agrees with me, and we all know RC is a great birder. I would have gone with corncrake. There's a female. And it's the male. But I was hoping there was a flying shot, but there isn't. So the others it could be, but less likely until I've had a good look, is a striped crake, a male striped crake. Those are very, very rare. No, there's the female striped crake. I'm pretty confident corn crake at the moment. I haven't had a chance to actually look because we're doing Facebook Live. So the only real option is the spotted crake, which is also another rare bird. But they're so rare, there's only very few pictures. Orange and red base to the bill. Now, it was such a thing. So quite often, if I had to go with the gist, where's he gone now? That's my money's on the corn crack. We could try something, Brian.
What could we try?
Should we try to see if it'll talk to us? Let's do that quickly. Come, little corn crack, it's time to have a chat. Such a beautiful call. Flew into that little thicket there, and that little thicket is unfortunately just across our boundary, so I can't go actually flush it, which I really want to do. It's not talking back. So So it's not normally heard in southern Africa, it's normally heard in Europe. So there we go, it breeds in Europe through to western Siberia and even into northwestern China. And in southern Africa it's only really seen in Limpopo, so we're in the right part of the world. And yeah, here we go. There's how many, I'm just having a look how many records there have been for the last couple of years. Not many, maybe not many at all actually, so it's definitely something. Once I've had a look at the screenshots and I've made 100% sure, I will be sending through to the Rarities Commission. Might get me a little extra tick on a map. What was that, Brian?
You can link today with some beefies.
Some beefies? What are a beefy?
Beefies.
I have no idea what a beefy is, but Jamie has one. Never.
We have got some buffalo, having just discussed how incredibly rare the sightings have been with them. We've got not one, not two, but three, and actually four, but he's behind us looking at Dave as if to say, you're blocking me, buddy. I want to go and join the rest of my buddies. They're very skittish. They're unbelievably skittish for buffalo. It's interesting. And even more interesting is that there is one, look at this. The way he's looking at us. It's okay. You know the old adage of them looking at you like you owe them money. This one particularly with his low boss. Look at that. So even more interesting is that there's a female with them. Just one. And as to why she just walked straight up to him and headbutted him, what did you do to upset her? Or was that an affectionate head knock? I don't think so. Very skittish. The fact that we're seeing a female with a group of Duggar boys, or a bachelor group, would suggest that she has been separated from the rest of her herd. And usually when you see this sort of situation, it's because they've been chased by lions. I'm sorry, Dave, I have to show you. You have to look behind you at the way this buffalo is looking at you. Hello. You're a massive boy. You are huge. Or perhaps I've just forgotten exactly what healthy buffalo look like. It's really lovely to see them looking like this. Plump and healthy once again. And no longer skin and bones. Hey, Dave.
Yeah.
They look twice the size they did during the dry season. Hello, big boy. Though it's possible they were chased by lions. It's impossible for us to say. Project Alpha say perhaps they are smelling lions in the air. It's possible. The only lions that we know of are to the northwest of where we are, far away on Arathusa. So as good as a buffalo's sense of smell is, the lions haven't walked through this area recently, but it could be that they were chased down south from some of the other lion prides a bit further to the north. So it might be that's why they're so nervous, as they've just had a really shocking night being chased around. The Birmingham boys, all four of them, are far south, close to where Brent is now, but unfortunately outside of our Traverse area on the Mala boundary. Now they are far away, but it could have been, there has been reports of a large lion pride to the north of us, and it could be that they are the ones responsible for putting these poor buffalo in a very unsettled mood. Okay, copy. Thanks very much, Abel. I actually might come back and join you, just in case she does decide to disappear. Sorry, I was just chatting with one of the other guides about the fact that Xongile is now moving. I don't want her to disappear completely, because it'll be very tricky to find her again if she does. While we're looking at our buffalo, Kathy, you want to know if that is sweat coming from the buffalo's nose. I don't think it has any urea in it, Kathy. It is... You see how confused and skittish he is? They went the other way, you silly boy. You silly dope. No, you're going to go chase my hyenas now. Come back this way. Sorry, Kathy. It's moisture build-up around the nose, so it's quite soft, sensitive tissue. And with the buffalo's breathing, he gets lots of moisture coming from his lungs, building up there, and then it secretes moisture itself. It's like, I don't know if you've felt a dog's nose, but it's that sort of, it's from breathing out around that sensitive skin and then secretions. And it probably has a little bit of a cooling factor as well. Such skittish buffalo. What do we do? Hyena? I think he's going to go and chase these hyena away, and I think if I drive close to him, he's going to run straight towards that hyena den, which I'd prefer to avoid. The hyena will be fine, but it does mean that they won't pop out again. Or do we go back to Xongile and just see where she settles down? Indecision. One of the other guards wants to leave her. Shall we back ourselves find her again? Shall we? Shall we back ourselves? I just would prefer that big buffalo bull to move away. Oh, sorry about that, everybody. Apparently we had a little bit of break-up with your signal and with the picture. It's just the realities of bringing you a live safari from the middle of the African bush. We've swapped onto the jig-jag away from Wendy because she's been giving us hassles, so it might just need some fine-tuning. I don't quite know how much of it you heard or how much of it you missed. But Xongile is on the move, and I'm trying to decide, and I've decided I'm going to back us to find her again, and we'll go to the hyena den. Hopefully I'm not going to regret saying that. Luckily that buffalo's moved past now. There he goes. That's perfect. So that means he's not going to go running into the hyena den. There he is, dashing off after the rest. Shame, very skittish. I'm not sure where bushwalk is, but I would suggest to them that those are buffalo that should be preferably avoided. I know Tayla's already said she's dodging buffalo. Okay, let's go see what's happening at the hyena den. I can't resist. I haven't been back since I first saw them. So I just simply cannot resist paying a visit. Ow. Oops. Are you excited, Dave?
Yes.
How long has it been since you've seen a hyena cub?
Too long.
Too long. They're adorable. Abel, I'm just going to go to the Misikaya quickly. Can you let me know where you leave her? You got to strike while the iron's hot as well with the hyena den, because Riven might decide to go wandering as it starts to get dark, and then we won't see the cubs. Okay. Nice and slowly make our way in. Tayla told me that this morning the hyena cubs were coming right up to the vehicle already. So we've got some really exciting prospects. They're relaxed already. And we want to keep it that way by making sure that we're very, very careful in our approach. Good morning, good afternoon, Ribbon. Last time I saw you was first thing this morning when you were trying to terrorize our dustbins. And Tayla had to keep chasing you out. Hey there.